Hello everyone and welcome to another Rockies Ready video as I get ever closer to my Canadian Rockies holiday. People asked for this video, so here it is, my Canadian Rockies Haul. Haul video. I really can't believe I'm about to do it. The first question you undoubtedly ask is how can you have a haul video when you've not even been to Canada yet? Well, really it's a haul of what I've bought in order to have a successful trip. Didn't really think of doing a haul video myself other than a passing comment in a weekly vlog, but I've had a couple of people contact me saying they'd like to see it, so here it is. And just before I go through each item individually, this is what it looks like in the packing preparation area. Walking shorts, trespass mostly, walking trousers, mountain warehouse, Berghaus raincoat, very light, brilliant. The running sort of tops, fleeces for layering, and the Wanderer Provoke bag. And now we'll go into each one. One of the challenges of going to the Canadian Rockies is the fact that you need different types of clothes. In truth, you could do without that and just take what you normally wear. But the trouble is, what I normally wear is the same for everything I do. I wear the same clothes to go to work as I do just around the house in my sort of spare time. And then I'll wear those clothes again when I go on epic walks in the countryside. Now, they're different sets of those clothes, but they are the same clothes. And it struck me that I could, one, make my life much easier in Canada with the right equipment, and two, to some extent, you need the right equipment or you could get yourself into serious trouble. In a way, it's a bit like a hidden tax on a Canadian Rockies trip, because unless you do that sort of holiday on a regular basis or that sort of activity seriously and regularly at home, you ain't gonna have some of that stuff. In order to give this video some structure, we're going to structure it in two ways. We're going to go through the clothes I bought, the outer layers like coats that I've bought, the footwear I've bought, and then finally new things like bags. That also happens to be the order they are in terms of the most costly. In terms of clothes, as I've said, I'm probably quite a typical 40-odd-year-old white guy in the sense that I do my shopping once a year and buy the same stuff and then I just graduate them on age. I admitted in the past that some of the shorts I wore for Florida on my last trip were actually the same shorts I wore in 2007 on a previous trip. It can be that bad. The key when you're buying clothes for the Canadian Rockies is three things. 1. The temperature can vary from 3 degrees Celsius to 16 degrees Celsius in September. That varies based on the weather patterns and also how high you are in the mountains. 2. There can actually be snow in September, though I would probably be unlucky if that was the case, or if I was at the wrong elevation at the wrong time. I guess it may happen, but I would be unlucky if I got severely snowed on. 3. As you're walking through the Canadian Rockies, you're obviously at different elevations. It may well be warmer in Banff, colder in Jasper. Warmer on one walk and then freezing when you're on the ice fields. There is only one answer when that is the truth of the situation, and that is to wear layers. Okay, the strategy for my upper body clothing has been quite simple. Go for breathable tops that you often wear for walks or running, and then complement those with fleeces of various thickness. It's actually handy that obviously stores that cater to walkers and hikers have thought of this all already, as you would expect, but totally unknown to me. And you can buy fleeces in light, medium and heavy sort of ratings, so you know exactly what you're doing. So in terms of the basic top I'm going to wear, it is something like this. Notice it has a collar. Took me a while to find these with a collar because of course most of them are for runners and don't have collars. But as an older gent, I just can't find I can wear t-shirts without collars. So here we are. This is the sort of thing I'm going to wear. It's breathable, UV protection, antibacterial. It sounds impressive. And even more importantly, it is quick drying. On my walks in the lakes and along the North Yorkshire coast, I've not really wore that sort of thing before, but I've started wearing them on my walks, and it is far superior than wearing something like this. You either sweat a lot less, or if you do sweat, it is a more comfortable affair. Those tops are about $11.99, because I always get them from outlet stores, from Trespass, because I've decided that that is often the brand that has the stuff I like. I've also bought a range of long trousers and shorts which are similar. They're all breathable, UV protection, dry easy, and are quite light wearing. So these are examples of the shorts. Again, from Trespass, these were about 15 to 26 quid depending on which pair you're talking about. And they're really good. The trousers are similar but obviously longer. And then again, they are from Trespass. I also have a pair of Craghopper ones which are slightly dearer. Now again, I've started wearing that sort of stuff on my walks in the country, and they work much better. They keep your legs cooler, you don't get overly sweaty in them, and they just let you breathe, and it has a phenomenal effect. As I said, those shorts have ranged from about 15 quid to 30 quid, and then the upper level for the long trousers was the Craghopper ones, which were about 45. On top of those tops, I'm going to have fleeces, which I can pull out when the weather dips to being more cold. Because on walks, even if the weather isn't the warmest, it quickly gets warm as you're walking and hiking. So it will have to probably get to the lower end of the extreme before I use these. And I've certainly not gone for really heavy fleeces, I've stuck to light and medium. Again, what I've bought is Trespass ones. So the light one is something like this, a funky red and grey, which I really like as the colour scheme. It's very light, just throw it over yourself, blocks the wind and keeps you warm very quickly. I did use this as an experiment on a previous walk and boy did I get warm fast. And that's only a light one. The medium ones are this sort of grey and green affair. As you can see, it's a lot thicker, and the heavy ones were really thick. I've not actually worn this yet because I've not had the weather to make it worthwhile, so it's going to sit there probably waiting for Canada to be worn. But if I was to put this on, even in weather that was quite low temperature, assuming there wasn't like some bitter -10 wind or something, you would get warm in that really fast. So those fleeces were about, I think it was about 10 quid for the light one, getting closer to 20 for the heavier one. I still may, because I've only got one of each, I still may buy some more fleeces. I'm not 100% sure, maybe an additional light one. Okay, if the crap really hits the fan, and we get some unintended torrential rain, or if really bad cold wind, I obviously need something to put on top of those fleeces. And that's where the outer coat comes in. And where things start getting expensive. You have no idea how complex buying a pretty good hiking coat is. It is technologically as complex as what buying a computer used to be like. Buying a computer now is relatively simple if you just want it for general stuff because everything's good enough. But if you're trying to buy a gaming computer or something like that, it's quite technically complex. That is what buying a coat is like for hiking. It's absolutely crazy. There is all sorts of brands with their own technologies, their own way of measuring those technologies. It's an absolute nightmare. So it's hard to show on this video, but I did ultimately go Berghaus. This is phenomenally light, absolutely really light. It's a ridiculous light. You just throw it on and you don't even know it's there. But it severely protects you against the wind and it is 100% waterproof. That cost, guess. It should have cost closer to £200, but it cost £100 because I'm always going to the outlet versions of the stores. But that is a very light throw-on Mac, which doesn't really look much, though obviously it looks quite stylish I guess, but you know, it doesn't really look much like much as a product, but £100 bloody. But it'll be worth it if we ever get caught out in the wrong wet weather. What is amazing about it is it'll scrunch up into a bag about this small. So it has absolutely no problem easily fitting into what I'll be carrying around. Now for the most expensive item of clothing before we get to the bag. And those are the Scarpa boots. These were 130 quid. By far the largest amount I've ever spent on something that goes on my foot. The most I ever usually spend on things that go on my feet are about 30 to 40 quid, but I figured these were an investment. If any of this stuff was just for the Canadian holiday, I would really begrudge it, but of course it's not. It also works perfectly and feeds into my nature's theme park walks that I do, and the core of it, though obviously not these boots, also work perfectly for Florida, which we'll come back to. So these are fully leather, fully waterproof, should last for a good 3 to 4 years, rather than the year that my 30-40 pound ones that I usually wear sort of last. So they're an investment, glad I bought them, really comfortable. And one of the advantages of going to Canada, because I probably would not have bought these just for the nature's theme park stuff, but I will probably be really glad I did. Now the most expensive item. I'm going to do a whole video on this because I did a video a while back about how I didn't actually have a bag for Florida, because it suddenly dawned on me I needed one bag that would work as carry-on, would work as a day pack for hiking, and also carry camera equipment securely. Now normally you can get bags that do one of those things really well, or two of them pretty well, but trying to ask for all three is almost impossible. And I'm sure people are crying out and listing numerous brands they know of. Believe me, I've done quite a bit of research, and most of those brands only meet 2 of the 3. The number of brands of bags that meet all 3 is infinitesimally small, which means you pay more for it. So here we have it, the bag that has solved my bag problem for Canada, the 100 Provoke 21. It is an amazing piece of kit. Also amazingly stylish. It has a camera holding unit in the bottom, day pack in the top, can extend via a rollout. I mean, it just meets all my needs. I'm sure there will be something it doesn't do perfectly, but it is one of the only solutions that meets carry-on, day pack, camera bag. Absolutely amazing. You can tell a lot of this stuff I've still not took the tags off and really investigated, because I haven't really had the time. But at the same time I was aware, you know, I'm coming up to August, then I only have a month. In terms of the price of that bag, I'll give you a moment to guess. Yeah, 200 to 220 quid. Even higher depending on some of the options you might want. But that is sort of in line with some of the top end bags that cover 2 or 3 of these scenarios. And again, if it was just for Canada, certainly would not have happened. You know what I'm like? I spend like a much poorer person than I am. But since it will work out for me for all my nature's theme park walks moving forward, where I haven't really had a perfect way of carrying stuff around, just stuff that's sufficed, I am really happy with the purchase. So if you've been to the Canadian Rockies before and had to address this whole how do I cope with multiple weather scenarios layering sort of approach, I would really like to hear from you in the comments to see whether I'm on track or totally off track. I don't think I'm far off track. I think the only thing I'm slightly concerned about is how cold and bad can it get. Now in truth, if it's that bad, other than, you know, visiting the ice field, we probably just would not head out. Because that would just be crazy. But, you know, if we got caught in something, I think I'm sort of covered. Especially since a lot of our hikes will be shorter. It's not like we're going on epic multi-day hikes or anything like that. Please consider liking and subscribing. You can subscribe right now by clicking the link to the left. If you want to catch up on all the Rockies Ready videos, you can do that by clicking the link to the top right. I also have adventures in Florida, and one of those you can see by clicking in the bottom right. Until next time.